Good evening from Rwanda. We're here at MWC Kigali 2025. It's the last day, and I have the pleasure to introduce and have with me today Caroline Mbugua, Senior Director for Public Policy and Communications at GSMA. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Akim. Thank you very much for having me today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's always a pleasure. Last day, MWC Kigali were quite hectic, intense days. So, what are your key takeaways? What are the learnings and findings?
So, MWC Kigali is a platform that I have a true passion for because it's where we bring conversations about the continent to drive digital transformation ambitions for Africa, aligned with Agenda 2063 for African Union. So the event, as you've said rightfully, has been very intense. Lots of discussions that have been done. Specifically for me, what has stood out is looking at the current connectivity landscape in Africa. So at the GSMA, we monitor through our reports, and mainly this is a mobile internet connectivity report for 2025. We monitor the level of connected, those that are not connected, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about connected, these are individuals that are actively using mobile broadband services and are online. We do have a different category that we call the usage gap, and these are individuals that do not use mobile broadband services despite being covered by the service. And so the key barriers identified for this is affordability, and mainly affordability of device and affordability of service. During the discussions throughout MWC Kigali, we have seen key conversations around how to address these barriers and be able to drive digital adoption on the continent. Because if you're talking about the digital era, taking advantage of advanced technologies such as AI, the digital divide is going to widen more and more if we don't address the usage gap. Reports that we have done estimate that about 790 million Africans fall in this bracket of the usage gap.
So, which means they basically have access to connectivity but not using it.
Yes, have access to connectivity, not using it. And the barriers to this, like I mentioned, is affordability, digital literacy, and access to relevant content. But I'd like to delve in a little bit on affordability, like we mentioned, because some of the things that contribute to the challenges of affordability is taxation, for example. The sector is one of the heavily taxed sector, disproportionately taxed compared to others. And a lot of the times, the structuredness of the sector is a main contributor of these high levels of taxes. So the industry is calling on governments to review our taxation regime on the continent and prioritize affordability of service and devices to be able to accelerate adoption. A good example is South Africa, where the government had recently removed luxury goods tax on smart devices below 2,500 Rand, and we've already started seeing positive progress in terms of the adoption of entry-level devices. So these are some of the conversations that we were having, and understanding that at the end of the day, without addressing these gaps, we are not able to fully address the connectivity issues in Africa. Another area that was critical for us to have a conversation on is on the coverage gap. So I had about 120 million Africans are not covered by mobile broadband service signal at all, meaning that they're not using the service because it's not anywhere near where they work, where they go to, where they live. And so there needs to be concerted effort to look at how to close this gap. And majority of this gap is in rural and hard to reach areas. So there were conversations around technologies such as satellite. What role can they play in closing this in this gap? Of course, collaboration is one of the things that will be required between mobile network operators, satellite service providers, government, and other ecosystem players to be able to close this gap conclusively. There's one other area that also came out very strongly during MWC Kigali, and we launched the Africa Task Force on Child Online Protection. So this is a task force that provides a platform where we can bring the initiatives that are being done in Africa to try and drive child online protection, because as long as we are driving digital inclusion, we must ensure that it is a place where children can thrive, can play, and can feel safe as they're interacting with the internet. And the task force has different memberships. We are co-hosting the task force with UNICEF, our partner. We have members such as the East Africa Communication Organization that just confirmed membership today, the ITU, the ATU. Of course, we have other organizations such as MTN, Vodacom, Orange, Axian, Safaricom, just to name but a few. This idea is noble and is one that will need for stakeholders to be held accountable. During this workshop or during this the launch of this task force, Honorable Minister Paula made in her remarks confirm that we don't need more policies. What we need now is the implementation of these policies, because majority of African countries already have a policy in place that provide guidance on child online protection. We have frameworks that have been done by the Africa Union, which is a child online protection and implementation policy. The ITU has issued guidelines, industry guidelines, policy guidelines, and so on and so forth. So looking at tangible, actionable solutions that support child online protection is the key, and this is one of the areas that the task force will be focused on to be able to drive child online protection.
All right, so quite a lot on your plate here during MWC. So let me just come back regarding the usage gap and the coverage gap. So it's more like a chicken and egg situation, right? Because where do you start? Because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal should be leaving no one behind. On one side, smart devices might be easier to manage or to solve the affordability on that compared to building the infrastructure for rural and semi-rural areas. Where do you see what direction should we go, and what is your outlook?
So, as you said, it's a complex situation that requires a multi-stakeholder approach to address, because when we come together, then we're able to find a solution faster. So one of the things that we need to do is to have policy that are enabling, policies that are reflective of the challenges that we face in the region, and of course the opportunities that we can unlock, particularly because we are a young nation, we are a young continent, very adaptive. So having an enabling environment attracts the investment that is needed in a sustainable manner to drive some of these initiatives that now will help us close the usage gap and the coverage gap. There needs to be clear targets and clear outcome set for us to be able to achieve this. So starting with the usage gap, initiatives that address affordable devices, digital literacy programs, relevant content, and of course, making people feel safe online. And one other area in Africa that we don't talk about it as much in the industry is energy, because research that we have conducted confirmed that energy is a critical and forms a key part of the costs input into service to consumer and significantly impacts the pricing at the end of the day. So addressing some of these issues is definitely the way towards addressing usage gap. And of course, as you're doing that, in parallel, initiatives to address coverage gap also have to be put in place. And one of the things that can be used is the USF. We did do a report in 2023 that is focused on improving the effectiveness of universal service funds and making sure they meet the objectives of accelerating coverage in the hard-to-reach areas and in the rural areas. So reviewing and improving the running of the USFs is going to be a very effective tool in addressing the coverage gap in the region. And of course, looking at how to partner with different technology service providers, because at the end of the day, we need to reduce the cost of rolling out services in these rural and hard-to-reach areas so that the service can be affordable at the end of the day.
But you also need the right service for these areas.
I do agree, you need the right service for this area, but to be honest, the customer don't really care what technology they are using. At the end of the day, the technology that we use has to be technology neutral, but there needs to be access to good quality service. So looking at quality of service and quality of experience. And of course, ensuring that the service is close to the people and that they are empowered to be able to use it. So as you address coverage gap, again, the issue of usage gap comes up in these areas again. So it needs to be combined with initiatives that now accelerate the adoption of use.
So if you look ahead beyond MWC Kigali, what do you think could be the biggest achievement in the next 5 years for the industry and for the market?
The future is bright, if I may say it like that, because like I said, we have a young continent and early adopters to technology. Our reports confirm that the region is going to be among the ones that are going to have accelerated adoption of mobile broadband services by 2030, up to 4 times compared to other parts of the region. So we do anticipate there's going to be an accelerated rate of adoption of mobile broadband services, and with that brings innovation. We do see AI is an area that is going to evolve rapidly, and one of the things that we are doing at the GSMA is bringing together stakeholders for us to rally behind an large language model that embodies African languages to make sure that Africa is not left behind. Because when you talk about the barrier of digital literacy, one of the challenges with that is that content is not in our language. So it makes it even more difficult for one to be able to understand the challenge. So having African languages within within the large language modules helps in driving the adoption of AI as well, because we do envision that this is going to accelerate connectivity. 5G is going to play a key role, particularly in revolutionizing the verticals, so addressing challenges in the transport sector, health sector, manufacturing, leveraging technology to improve productivity and enhance and efficiency in our verticals is how we will be able to achieve our digitalization ambition for Africa.
All right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the interesting conversation. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me.
Catch up next year to see what changed in the last 12 months.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. There was TechAfrica News from MWC Kigali 2025. You can find more on techafricanews.com.